The Galactic Council had seen wars, genocides, and political assassinations, but rarely had a single death caused such quiet unease. Her name was Alara Vance, 16 years old, daughter of Earth's senior ambassador, Marcus Vance. To most council members, she was just another diplomat's child, until her murder lit a fuse no one saw coming. Alara was curious in the way only humans seem to be. She wandered the crystal markets of Tuaro Station, bartering with merchants twice her size, asking them how their foods were grown, why their art shimmered in strange colors, or how their languages bent sound into notes that felt like music. Aliens found her questions odd but charming. Many called her Little Star, a fragile human light among hardened diplomats. Then, one afternoon, her light was extinguished. A group of Krell Dominion extremists, scaled warriors who despised humanity's rapid rise, cornered her in a side alley. Witnesses recalled heated words. One shoved her. She shoved back, unafraid. The Krell jeered at her defiance, mocking her size, her soft skin, her prey blood. Then one drew a plasma blade. The strike was swift, merciless. By the time help arrived, her body was already cooling on the polished alloy floor. The market froze. For a moment, even hardened smugglers and soldiers could not comprehend what had just happened. A human child had been killed in the heart of the galaxy's most protected neutral world. News spread within hours. By the next day, the council convened an emergency session. Holograms of 100 species flickered to life, voices overlapping in cold bureaucracy. A regrettable tragedy, an unfortunate misunderstanding. Disciplinary measures will be taken against those responsible. The Krell delegation muttered a shallow apology, calling the extremists rogue patriots. They suggested compensation. They suggested moving on. Ambassador Marcus Vance stood alone in the center of the chamber. His face was stone, his voice stripped of emotion. "She was a child," he said. The chamber grew still, for no one had ever heard a human voice so cold. Our child. He didn't shout, he didn't plead. He only spoke the words, then turned and walked out. Behind him, the human delegation followed without another sound. The blue and green banner of Earth hung for a moment longer, then dimmed as if in mourning. At first, the council sighed in relief. "They will grieve," murmured a Zyran senator, waving a claw dismissively. "Humans are sentimental. They will cry, then return." But they did not return. Days passed, then weeks. Human embassies closed. Trade ships vanished from routes. Colonies fell silent. The Terran delegation chamber remained dark. The galaxy thought humanity was retreating in sorrow, but those who paid attention saw something else. An unnatural stillness, like the ocean withdrawing before a tidal wave. In the asteroid belts near Sol, ancient shipyards stirred. Engines dormant for generations rumbled awake. Steel leviathans, never registered with the Council, emerged from hidden docks, their hulls black and silent. Crews assembled without question. Orders passed quietly from Earth, where every city burned with a single thought. They had killed one human girl, and the galaxy had no idea what that meant.
The uproar did not fade, it built, layer upon layer, until the chamber resembled a battlefield more than a council hall. Delegates from 100 worlds shrieked at one another, their voices rising in an incomprehensible storm of rage, fear, and disbelief. Never, in living memory, had a species stood before the council and said no. Ambassador Vathul of the Sharak Collective slammed its clawed hands against the rail of its platform. Unacceptable! Humanity must be annihilated before their defiance spreads. A cluster of avian nobles countered immediately, wings flaring as they shrieked for restraint. Strike them down and we risk martyrdom. Other species will rally to them. The Speaker of the Council attempted to restore order, but its booming voice was drowned out by the chaos. Holoscreens lit up as military commanders, intelligence analysts, and planetary rulers from across the galaxy flooded the network with urgent transmissions. And all the while, Admiral Adrienne Leclerc stood in the center of the storm, her hands clasped calmly behind her back. She neither argued nor explained. The refusal had been made. Nothing more needed saying. In a shadowed alcove high above the chamber, Director Kareth of the Council Intelligence Bureau leaned toward his aide. His voice was a low growl. "Pull up every classified file on humanity, now." Moments later, a stream of reports flashed across his private console. Kareth scanned them rapidly, his expression darkening with each page. For decades, the Bureau had dismissed humanity as a minor frontier species, primitive in numbers if not in spirit. But the recent data painted a different picture. Entire fleets unaccounted for, resource extraction at scales far beyond reported capacity, colonies building in silence at the galaxy's edge, cut off from Council oversight. Even whispers, though unconfirmed, of weapons designed for total planetary denial. Kareth's claws drummed against the console. If even half of this intelligence is true, then humanity was no mere upstart. They were a storm waiting to break. Back on the floor, an amphibious delegate from the Zev Corps attempted to be heard over the shouting. Its watery voice quivered. "The Council has faced rebellions before. This is no different." "No different?" a reptilian warlord spat from across the chamber, slamming its tail against the metal floor. "When the Drakari resisted, they sued for peace within 2 cycles. When the Velen defied us, they were crushed in a single campaign. But these humans," it jabbed a claw toward the podium where Leclerc stood like a statue, "they do not look like prey, they look like predators." The chamber erupted again, and for the first time in 10,000 years, fear was present in the Council's great hall. Leclerc let her gaze sweep across them all, calm and unyielding. Not with arrogance, but with certainty. Humanity had come not to seek favor, not to plead for survival, but to deliver a message. The shockwave was spreading. Across distant colonies, species watched the broadcast in awe. Some whispered of rebellion, others dreamed of freedom. And far away, hidden in the black void of uncharted space, an uncounted number of human warships drifted silently in formation, waiting.
The first sign came at the edge of Krell space. A mining outpost reported a sudden eclipse, an object so vast it blotted out the local sun. At first, they thought it was an asteroid. Then the scanners resolved the shape, a warship, colossal and angular, dwarfing anything in their registry. Its hull bore no council designation, no familiar markings. Across its flanks, only one symbol gleamed, a stylized blue and green Earth. The Krell outpost didn't live long enough to send more. Across the stars, similar stories poured in. Human fleets no one had ever seen, emerged from dark sectors, deep space voids, and uninhabited colonies. Ships that should not have existed. Carriers the size of moons. Cruisers sleek and sharp, their weapons arrays bristling like the spines of some great beast. They moved with precision, striking in silence. The galaxy's laughter died overnight. In the council chamber, Panic spread like wildfire. Reports stacked upon reports. Krell shipyards burned to cinders. Dominion fortresses reduced to floating debris fields. Mercenary fleets who once mocked humanity erased in minutes, their distress calls cut off mid-scream. "These weapons," one senator stammered, "they bypass shields entirely." Another added, trembling, "Our intelligence said they had frigates. Frigates!" But human fleets were more than just size. They fought like predators who had studied their prey for centuries. Alien defenses were exploited with uncanny precision. Jamming waves blinded targeting systems. Hypersonic torpedoes curved through shield harmonics as if the laws of physics bent for humanity's wrath. And everywhere they struck, they left a message. Broadcast in every tongue, every frequency, the words rang clear. For Ilara Vance. The galaxy soon realized these strikes weren't wild vengeance. They were surgical. Every target belonged to those who had funded, harbored, or celebrated the extremists who killed a human girl. Entire military networks collapsed in days, while civilian worlds, untouched, watched in silent horror. On the Krell homeworld, generals gathered in disbelief as orbital defense grids fell without firing a shot. Hundreds of human warships emerged from stealth, their engines glowing like the eyes of gods. The skies above the Krell capital turned dark, eclipsed by human steel. This is impossible," one Krell commander whispered. "No species builds fleets like this without notice." But humans had. For a century, Earth had been underestimated. They had been called weak, soft, naive. While the galaxy mocked, they had built in silence, burying shipyards under ice worlds, disguising fleets as trade convoys, hiding technology behind humble smiles. And now, all at once, they unveiled the truth. The humans did not ask for treaties. They did not demand reparations. They did not plead for justice. They came with fire and silence, their fury made manifest in armadas that dwarfed the nightmares of empires. The message was clear. You spilled human blood. Now you will learn what that costs.
The Galactic Council chamber had never known fear. Its crystalline walls had witnessed centuries of wars and disputes, always cushioned by the illusion that this was the one safe place in the galaxy. But as the images poured in, Krell fortresses burning, fleets crumbling, and human warships blotting out suns, the chamber shook with panic. Delegates shouted over one another. Some demanded negotiations, others begged for immediate surrender. A few whispered the unthinkable. Perhaps it was time to strike Earth before it was too late. But those whispers died the moment the screens lit up with a single broadcast, overriding every channel, every frequency, every ship and world in the galaxy. The face of Ambassador Marcus Vance filled the void. Behind him, the Earth flag rippled, not as a symbol of peace this time, but of judgment. He did not shout. He did not rage. His voice was level, stripped of anything but truth. You killed one of us, a child, and you laughed. Across 1,000 systems, silence reigned. You called it unfortunate. You called it meaningless. But we are human. To us, one life is not meaningless. One child is not replaceable. One death is not forgotten. Behind him, the camera panned outward, revealing not just one fleet, but thousands. Battle groups stretching into infinity, filling space like a storm of steel. Ships the size of mountains, drones that swarmed like flocks of metal birds. Weapons glowing with a cold blue fire the galaxy had never seen before. This is what we hid, Vance continued. While you mocked us, we built. While you dismissed us, we prepared. We did not want war. We do not want conquest. But understand this." The hollow zoomed in on his face. His eyes were cold steel. "For every human life you take, 100 of yours will answer." Then, just as suddenly, the broadcast cut out. For weeks after, the fleets moved with terrifying precision. The Krell Dominion, the species that had produced the girls' killers, was shattered in less than a month. Their armies routed, their capital ringed by human dreadnoughts like wolves around a wounded beast. But humanity did not burn their cities. They left them crippled, stripped of fleets and pride, forced to live with the shame of their arrogance. Other powers scrambled to submit. Treaties were signed at lightning speed, each one bending to Terran terms. Entire empires that once mocked Earth now sent tribute, not out of respect, out of fear. In the void above Tuaros Station, where Ilara Vance had once laughed among the alien markets, a new monument was raised, a colossal statue of a young girl, her eyes turned to the stars. Beneath it, a simple inscription: "One spark can light a fire." The galaxy never forgot. From that day on, no one dared call humanity weak. The name of Earth was spoken only with caution, with respect, with a quiet fear that lingered in every council hall and war room. Because they all remembered the day the Hidden Fleet rose, and the day one girl's death remade the galaxy.